Here we are, practicing the Bach, Allemande, movement 2 from the Suite for unaccompanied cello in G major by J.S Bach. If you're wondering why a violinist and violist, full-time music teacher during the school year, husband and father, is posting these random videos of his hack job cello playing, maybe it's because I think it's inspiring when you get to the stage in your life where you're not only willing, but able to accomplish something new and beautiful. And so playing Bach on the cello, which has always been one of my dreams, is now something after 6 years of sort of learning the cello here and there, I can actually hope to do, and do halfway decently with practice. So if you put in the time, you put in the effort, and follow your dreams, however long it might take you, maybe you can start playing the Bach, whatever it is for you. Now, forgive me for all of these errors. And that's what happens when you play on a laminate floor. Sorry about that. I can really only play the first section right now. But seeing as this is a video of me practicing through it, obviously it's not a polished performance yet. There are all kinds of articulation and intonation errors spread throughout the performance. That was a quasi-performance that I just did. I tried to go straight through without stopping, right? And when you practice, it's important to remember that there's really two kinds of practice. One type of practice is focused on breaking down problems that you have into smaller and smaller pieces or increments, figuring out how to do those with excellence and consistency and a good tone, and then putting them back together into the larger and larger pieces until you can do the second type of practice successfully, which is what I just did. Not so successfully, which is play straight through something without stopping. So as if you were in a performance. And you get good at distinguishing actively, consciously, which type you are trying to do at a given moment, and that helps you to focus your energies and your attention on what's most important. So now I'm going to kind of go through this, and for as long as my wrist and my battery power, which is slowly running out, allows me, I'm going to just kind of practice through that section. Now, just to give you some context, I haven't tried to play this piece, this movement, for probably at least 3 or 4 years. And this is the first time, the last 34 minutes of practice maybe, that I've even touched it. So, and I hadn't touched the cello for 3 months, until yesterday for about an hour. So I've gotten back pretty much all and more of what I was doing 3 months ago, and I'm really pleased that I can actually play that section without my hand falling off, which is about what happened to me the first time I tried to play it. And I was much less consistent with my bow angle and everything else that I was doing with the cello the last time I attempted to play this movement. So now I'm just going to kind of go through. And I haven't decided on concretely on phrasing or bowings, fingerings yet. So you're going to see some, if you're used to playing this piece or you've learned it before or you're teaching it, you're going to see a whole bunch of wacky, wild stuff. So this might not be the best example to send your students to, but if there's something valuable that you see me do or hear me say in regards to practicing through something, the first type of practice that I explained just a second ago, by all means, learn from it and feel free to share the video. So that was an interesting sequence, and you're probably wondering, why am I just repeating that over and over again? Well, because I was missing the shift I was attempting into, I think it's second position, to that A. I missed it. I probably missed it 20 times in that sequence, but I probably got it right at not half the time, but a little bit less than half the time. And I was trying to use my second finger as a guide finger to kind of go to the G on the D string. Not quite so successfully. I'm still actually acclimating to playing the cello after 6 years of just on and off practice and performance on it. Sorry about those fireworks. I really only just begun to scratch the surface of becoming really familiar with the fingerboard and the spacing. So it's a work in progress, just like anything else that you do. But it's important when you're practicing this way to not just skip over something that's giving you trouble. I always tell my students, if there's a spot that is hard for you, then it functions as a barrier to your musical expression. So your goal should be to eliminate all of those barriers so that you can freely express whatever is basically in your heart or in your mind related to the music. I was a little sharp. Still a little sharp. You can hear the waves. Get it back a little bit. And now it's correct. I got it that time. Slightly flat. Slightly sharp. Acceptable. Not perfect. Much better. Got it again. Slightly sharp. Still slightly sharp. It's acceptable. Like if it was going quicker, you might not really notice. I actually got it right that time. Bach was a hopeless romantic. If you've heard of his life story, he worked for the church his entire life. The guy was a complete and utter genius. I mean, and also a total workaholic. I mean, the guy was a beast machine. Okay, he wrote the entire Sunday service, and the entire Sunday service's liturgy. The musical accompaniment to the liturgy every single Sunday, brand new. And I'm sure he recycled some of his writing, but he turned out a lot of works, and he had like 17 or 20 children or something with 2 women. His first wife passed away, and that was a source of understandably great sorrow for him. You can feel the passion of this artistic giant coming through in the simplest of notes, in the way that he turns out the harmonic phrase, or turns you in a different harmonic direction with just one note. It never fails to stymie me, even when I'm not performance practicing. So I was just practicing over here where the tone kind of changes after this first statement of the theme. We do all this stuff. Right, and then he's gonna shift gears, right? Take us in a different direction. And so I'm kind of debating whether I should follow the fingering that's here, or if I could do everything in first position and get away with it. Harmonically, the feeling of the section is still changed enough so that staying in first position, I think, would still get the point across. But if you change the fingering, you get a significantly different tone color because you're using the higher position on a lower string. So instead of getting this bright twangy sound of the A string, you would get right, which is a dramatically different sound. And I'm not really using any more or less bow speed or pressure. I'm just changing the position of my fingers. Right? Another thing in this section I'm finding interesting, and I'm having to kind of learn to do this more because we rarely do it on the violin or viola, but on the cello it really has its place. When you are, especially with a lower string, when you are going to go from a fingered note to the open string, a lot of times the string is so fat that if you're moving your bow at a fast rate of speed, or a faster rate of speed, or a light pressure, the string might not start vibrating. The bow hairs won't catch the string. But if you start the vibration with a pizzicato motion on the release of your previous fingered note, then you activate the motion of the string, and it helps the bow hairs to catch. Now, I've seen cellists do this, professional cellists or accomplished cellists. I've seen them, and I knew what they were doing, but it wasn't until just a few minutes ago when I had this issue on, and I don't even know where the note is. I think it's at the end of the first, just before the first repeat. Anyway, I'd have to practice through and then stop when I found it. But if you do this plucking motion, it actually helps you to sound the note. So like right in measure 1, 2, 3, 4 at the kind of the middle of the fourth full measure. Just picking my finger up, I'm kind of pulling it off with a plucking sound. Helps to articulate that low open string, and it comes back again 2 measures later. Right? About doing a harmonic for those, and I think I've seen people do them, but I'd have to work on coming back into position and playing the rest of the passage down instead of jumping to an open string right after it, because that would interrupt the flow of that tonal quality that I had already established. But it's definitely a nice touch, and the pattern repeats itself on a fifth below. So very interesting harmonic and melodic dynamics that are coming into play. Once again, I'm still just working through this, so it's just a total wash of bowings and fingerings and everything else. issue in that section that I just played, there are a few out of tune notes. But the biggest issue is that my tone isn't always staying consistent. And that's probably because I haven't made some concrete decisions about phrasing and bowing. But I've noticed that I need to work on creating that consistent tone throughout my bow stroke, right? So maybe I just need to quit doing Bach and just practice long tones for the rest of the evening. Some of you are thinking, seriously, this guy's going to just abandon the Bach and just do long tones? Yeah, I'm totally serious. Now, I'm actually not going to do long tones. I'm going to do long tones with scale. And let's see, we're in G major in the Bach. So we're going to do G major scale, starting from the open G string. Long tones, maybe 8 beats per bow. Go, change. Here we go, change. Seriously, man? You're really going to do long tones for the rest of this practice session? You've already been playing for 21 minutes. Now you're going to do long tones? I didn't manage my bow use there because I was talking. And now I'm all out of tune and gross. It's all your fault. I need to focus. The hardest thing about long tones is establishing a clear, resonant tone, apportioning your bow, and keeping the tone consistent. That was a challenge, and that's why my tone's not super consistent during the Bach. If anything you're playing or doing, any technique, any piece of music is a challenge for you, it's good because it's an opportunity to grow, but it's a sign that there's something that could limit your artistic expression. That challenge needs to be addressed to the point where it's no longer a challenge, and then you'll be free to express any type of music that has that technique required in the composition. Let's go a little bit faster. I'm going to do an extended fingering just to practice that open space between my first and second fingers. Extension. Third finger. I call this violin fingering, right? That's how we finger in the violin. Practice long tones and double stops? You should. Is it beautiful? It's great for your bow control. Listen to that dissonance. The openness. Love it. Let's go a little bit faster. Now, I always like to practice scales starting out with a no vibrato, right? Because you always want to make sure that the foundation of what you're going to change, right? Because we're altering the pitch when we vibrate. You always want to make sure that the foundation is secure before you start to rock it, right? You would never want to rock an unsecure foundation in a house, would you? You know, shake it like an earthquake would, because what's going to happen? It's going to collapse. So if you don't want your intonation to collapse, then you got to make sure that your foundation is secure. You want a firm connection to the string, right? Not pressing with the thumb, just nice and firm, pulling back into the string with your arm weight. And you want it to be in tune. And when it's in tune and resonant all by itself, then you can start to vary it with the vibration that creates the sound of the vibrato.